Hello again, my friends in Film Fandom, wherever you may be and however you may be watching. Thank you for giving us just a little bit of your time. And I'll go ahead and drop the, as soon as I get up there, I'll go ahead and drop that so you can see Conor rocking out. It's all the mad tunes, the tune of Twisterium, which is some royalty-free music that I found that I actually kind of dig. But hey, it's a good way to open a show. That's it. All right, and we're going to rock on now. And we're going to talk about episodes 5 and 6 of She-Hulk. And we'll start with episode 5. Again, just kind of overall where I'm at right now with the entire franchise. I'm concerned. It's like,
I was about to say, like, we're going to talk about episode 5. I'm like, do we have to?
Well, look, I mean, it wasn't terrible. But again, I mean, it just, to me, it seems like the show's just not progressing. And there was some things about this that I thought were good. I mean, so basically what episode 5 kind of surrounds is she ends up going to somebody who is kind of like the little short lady with the glasses from the Expendables that does the superhero costumes. So there apparently is a superhero costumer. That's exactly how I related it when I was watching it the other day.
No capes, darling. No capes.
No capes, honey. No capes. Capes get caught in things. But yeah, I mean, there was some of that, and we still haven't seen the suit yet. I mean, which is okay. I think we've gotten glimpses of it in the trailers anyway. Really only one memorable thing that happens right at the end of episode 5. But I mean, whatever. Most of it centers around the super suit. It centers, of course, around the lawsuit and the courtroom hearing between her and Titania over the name She-Hulk. We kind of figured that was going to go her way. But other than that, I mean, that's kind of all that really happened over the course of that episode. So, I mean, is there anything that jumps out about you from that episode, Conor, that was memorable? To me, it was kind of a dud.
I said on Twitter very reluctantly when I sent it out, I remember like going like this on my phone because I was like, and I said it was boring, man. I was not that there wasn't anything really to take away. Not that it was in essence like that I hated it per se, but it was just dull to me. They were trying, I think, to do exactly what we were talking about before about like, let's get to know Jen a little bit more, and let's see what the consequences of being She-Hulk is. I think they were trying to do that, but it felt like such a rush job and just like crammed into one episode. I was bored, man. I was really like, there was a couple of cool small things here and there, but nothing like wowing to me. And it's funny because obviously we try and do these weekly. I'm like, hey, I'm slammed from work, can't make it this week, by the way. Really wasn't anything of notice in this episode, so it just happened to work out that way. So
somebody did comment on the last video we did about She-Hulk. They were like, the review was 45 minutes, the episode is 30 minutes. Why don't I just watch the episode? I'm like, well, because sometimes there's a lot in one scene that is packed in there that we want to talk about.
Just watch us.
Sometimes that 2-minute scene can require a 30-minute discussion because something big happens that is large, that is big in the MCU, that is at least big in the story of this particular character. But I mean, it's like this episode didn't do much. The most significant thing, well, maybe second most significant thing in this is we do finally get the realization of this rivalry or this issue between Jen, She-Hulk, and Titania. That kind of finally comes to a head and boils to the surface a little bit. Not in the way that we had kind of thought it would. I mean, in episode 6 it does. There's actually a few punches thrown. We'll get to that in a minute. But I mean, this was all really just a court battle. Now, for those of you who don't remember, I mean, we talked about it, I think, in the last time we got together. Titania has copyrighted the name She-Hulk. She's trying to put out a line of makeup in the She-Hulk within the She-Hulk brand, and she is suing Jen Walters for using She-Hulk, which she has patented. And that's a MacGuffin. It's a bump in the road, and it gets taken care of in this episode. That to me was kind of the only real substance of the entire 5th episode to me, is that, yeah, this had to play itself out at some point. And I'm kind of glad it did, because that's finally is what pushed us to her and Titania kind of being at odds a little bit over something more than just, she's the guy who knocked her out in the first episode and we didn't hear from her again for 3 episodes. That's kind of all that really did. Now, it was kind of fun, the back and forth. And of course, it was very Jen-centric. because she actually makes a decision to win her case. I'm going to parade these guys out there that I went on these dates with, and I'm going to use that as proof. But in doing that, I have to kind of live through this shame. I have to do it very publicly. I have to deal with this part of being She-Hulk I don't really want. So from an emotional level, I kind of got it, and that was pretty good. But for the most part, there just wasn't much in that episode.
You hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what I was gonna like. You kind of took the words out of my mouth. That's kind of really the only thing that I kind of like. Okay, yeah, like they're doing sort of what we were complaining about and what we sort of wanted to see, but it felt my problem was that it was so self-contained that it was just all in that one episode. I would have rather if the Titania thing, at least towards the beginning, was kind of like stretched out just a couple more episodes. You have a fucking 9-episode series, and I would have personally, maybe this is just me, would have appreciated it more if it was like an undertone thing where like it was almost like the B plot where it's like she's fighting for the name. I'm not saying even the entire like 9 episodes, but like give me like 3 episodes where like it's her dealing with this and then coming to that realization of, hey, yeah, I did like, part of me did like the having to call the shitty dates as a I mean, that I thought was kind of, that was kind of like the clever, like, okay, yeah, that makes sense in terms of like her having to like, you know, pull teeth in order to keep this, or the whole idea that like, I thought you hated the She-Hulk name, like her growing into it. Like I would have preferred personally if they just stretched that part out just a little bit more as like an underlying thing for like 2 or 3 episodes, rather than just like shoving it into this one episode where it just felt like hollow.
I think it would have been a little more interesting also if it's like you said, if they'd have drug it out over the course of 2 or 3 episodes, while her and Titania are also in other arenas, so to speak.
Yeah,
maybe throwing hands. So it's like they're in the streets and maybe they're getting into a couple of fights here and there, but then they also have to meet in court, where that kind of confrontation is not what you're looking for. You're looking for the legal stuff.
right.
It would have been interesting to see those two kind of like diametric ways of these two having to deal with one another, one physically, one in the court of law. That would have been kind of an interesting kind of yin and yang about the relationship. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No, I'm right there with you. Like, imagine like the judge is like, all right, no, like you can't do this. You can't, like, no throwing punches, and they end up like kicking each other, you know, like some fucking loophole. You know what I mean? Like some like bullshit like that. Like, yeah, I would have preferred that more. It just like, it's not that I didn't like I didn't like the episode, but it's not like I hated it. Just that there's obviously so many things they could have done that could have sucked me in more and made me more invested in the episode and what they were trying to. I think the intent was there and the intention was good in there, but just the execution was just very lacking in this episode.
Yeah, the most significant thing that happens in this episode is, of course, at the very end, Jen goes back to the superhero outfitter to get her superhero outfit, which we still haven't seen yet. Although I think we've seen it in the trailers. And then, of course, she gets he makes her another kind of like evening dress thing, which she apparently very much likes. But, and I'm thinking that's the dress that she actually wears in the 6th episode. Isn't that the polka dotted dress job that she's wearing? I think it might be the dress.
Could be. Well,
but obviously the guy's walking away as she's trying to dress on, and he complains, "Why are you guys leaving this stuff out? Does discretion not mean anything to you?" He picks up a hat box and sits it over here right before he covers it up. You see the horns, the helmet of the very familiar helmet of Daredevil. Definitely, it's got that little bit of a yellowish hint to it. It's not the really dark like burgundy or red that we got from the Netflix series. So and you know, we already know that we're getting probably a different version or a different variant, to use the parlance in the MCU right now, of Daredevil. So that's the first for sure clue that we have that he's going to be coming around soon. And that's kind of where it's left, and that's where the episode ends off. So it's a very kind of, again, middling episode with that thing right in the middle, that thing right at the end that makes you go, oh. And then that's kind of where it leaves you. The one other thing I've noticed is I had read early on that every one of these episodes was going to have a post-credit scene, and I think the first 3 episodes did. Not anything significant, but they were very comedic. Right. The last couple episodes haven't.
No, 5 and 6 did not. Which is funny because, like, I think I mentioned this in one of the previous reviews we did, where I'm like, if any show is going to have a post-credit scene in every single episode, whether it's of substance or it's the whole like Captain America, like, You know what a value is? Patience. Sometimes it's worth it. Sometimes it's not at all. This would be the show to do it because of the character and the the meta-ness and the self-referential humor. Like this would be the show to do it. But yeah, there were a couple of this episode and then the sixth one, which we'll talk about in a second. No post-credit scene. Now going back to the Daredevil thing, just for a quick second. We kind of talked about this. I think we might have talked about this for off air on or whatever. But yeah, they have, Disney especially with D23 and then more so later with like Charlie Cox doing interviews and whatnot, have really hammered home the fact that this Daredevil and supposedly or subsequently the characters that were associated with the Daredevil, the Netflix series, fresh start, man. This is not referencing the Netflix series other than just casting alone from what it seems like. So that could be good or bad. That could blow up in their face, or that could be a great creative outlet, freedom wise, for Daddy Feige in the MCU to interject Daredevil the way they want him to in the bigger picture. Because if you don't think Feige doesn't like Daredevil, he wouldn't have given him a goddamn 18 episode season 1 series on Disney Plus, let alone being showcased here, Spider-Man, and then eventually Echo. We're gonna see him as well too. So it's interesting. And we also, I'm not sure if you saw they released like a mid-season teaser a couple of weeks ago, where they showed a little bit more footage where it's like Charlie Cox and Matt Murdock talking with Jen as lawyers, saying like, well, you could be both. You can be a lawyer to serve people when people fail them, and then you can be She-Hulk when the law fails them, and be like both. And so he's going to be almost like, it's coming across like he might be like a kind of like a mentor-ish figure of how to balance being a superhero and an attorney at the same time. That
also leads me to the question of where are we going to see Matt Murdock? I mean, it's pretty clear that we're not getting the same Matt Murdock that we had in the Daredevil series on Netflix. But where is this version of Matt Murdock in his journey of being Daredevil? I mean, has he been Daredevil for a few years? Has he just become Daredevil, but maybe he's kind of got it figured out, where maybe she doesn't? I mean, how far along is the journey that he's been on?
Well, that's my guess, and that's one. I might get slack for this, but personally, one of the things I actually liked about the MCU Spider-Man, Tom Holland, we didn't need the origin story, man. We already. How many times do we need to see Ben Parker die? It's like it's almost. I know Batman's a little bit different, but it's also the same thing with Batman. It's like, man, Jesus, like, man, if only I got that alley scene, with Martha and Thomas Wayne. It's the same thing. Like I think maybe they're leaning into the idea of like, we don't need to tell the origin story right away because people kind of already know who Daredevil is from kind of piggybacking off of that, or they're going to retell it in the Daredevil Born Again series in terms of like maybe like a flashback or something. But my guess is that he's already been doing this for a while, especially where if we're going off of just what we've seen him in the MCU so far, which at this point, canonically is only just him catching the brick from No Way Home. It's like, I'm a very good attorney. It's like, I think he's got his shit figured. He's got his shit more figured out than Jen Walters does. That's for sure.
Yeah, he's also going to find his way from New York to Los Angeles, apparently, because I mean, that's where he's at. Because remember, even though we're getting a new version, a new variant, whatever, of Charlie Cox's Daredevil, of Matt Murdock and Daredevil, he was in New York for one reason or another, because he was there in No Way Home.
Yep.
So I am curious as to how he's going to make that transition from New York to Los Angeles, because there's a lot of people talking about that this is going to lead to some kind of version of the West Coast Avengers. It's going to be him, and a couple other people. I mean, whoever they decide to put in it. I forget who's in it, the comic books.
I mean, take your pick. There's that West Coast Avengers. It's just like any other team in Marvel Comics or in any other superhero teams where it's like there's a revolving door of cast. But funny enough, you say that, not to jump ahead too quick, but there's been a lot of those QR codes that you can scan in the episodes. And then the latest She-Hulk one, if you scan it, it's not a She-Hulk comic. It's a West Coast Avengers comic. So
maybe you never know.
Yep.
Also, it did come out recently that there is some talk that John Bernthal's Punisher is going to be returning in Daredevil Reborn. I'm all for that. I mean, I thought Punisher was a fantastic, phenomenal show. I mean, I put it right as far as the Disney Plus stuff is concerned. I put it right up there with WandaVision, which is my favorite Disney Plus thing so far. It was that good. And I am kind of confused. They seem pretty set on the fact that we're getting a different version of Matt Murdock and Daredevil, but they've got the same actor apparently coming back to play Foggy. There's talk that John Bergdahl is going to be coming back to play Punisher. Maybe not in this first season of Reborn, but maybe somewhere down the line. They were talking specifically about the potential of him being in the new season of Daredevil coming up on Disney Plus. But if we're getting a different variant, it's kind of odd that these characters from these actors even from the Netflix world are coming back. If they were same character but different actors, I would say, well, they're just different variants of Foggy or whatever. But they're the same actors coming back. So I kind of wonder, how is all this fit?
It's all that Disney money, man. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we can just do this whatever we want. But I mean, look, you can say what you want about like criticisms about the MCU or Marvel or Feige, whatever. But I mean, just they're not stupid either. You know what I mean? Like they know bigger picture. Like if we're able to get these actors and actresses that were tied to such extremely successful Marvel properties outside of the MCU, we're gonna do it. Hell, they hired John Krasinski to be Mr. Fantastic in Doctor Strange,
if only for a movie, if only for a cameo.
Right. So my point is that you can clearly tell there's a lot of Marvel stuff in the MCU that they lean into the fandom and they lean into the diehards, right? So if they're able to do so, why the hell not? If anything else, just to get like the name association or the visual association. I mean, hell, you and I probably have the same thing. And I'm sure a lot of other people who are watching, listening, where it's like you associate actors, actresses with certain characters, even if it's recast. Kevin Conroy will always be Batman because some people, Mark Hamill will always be Joker. It's that name and actor / character association that if you can keep that continuity going, even if just for an identity or identity disorder or identity property of it, fuck it, why not? I mean, Mickey's got some money to blow.
And it's not like these guys are going to turn it down. I mean, John Bergdahl's character, his career's not hurting anyway. I mean, he's got a new TV show I think he's doing as well. And the guy that plays Foggy, I mean, he's not exactly a Tom Cruise level action star actor. He's not exactly commanding $10 or $15 million a movie. So it's like, if I'm him, I'm like, Disney wants to throw me a few extra bucks to come back and play a different version of Foggy. We can work it out.
I mean, obviously, even like some of the smaller actors. I mean, shit. You think of like, hey, do you want to be part of the MCU? Oh, you mean that thing that like created the top grossing movie of all time, and you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, I don't know if I want to be part of this multi-billion-dollar franchise that's
billion-dollar movie after billion-dollar movie after billion. Like the bad movies are making $800 million. It's like,
you shit me. Like, come on. Like, of course,
sure, why not?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, they have the money to blow. Bigger picture, it's clearly a success. It's not like before where, like, how Chris Evans was like, I'm not sure about being Captain America. Somewhat understandable because of the commitment, but now you see like, oh shit, it's like an Endgame. Well, they're gonna do it again with Secret Wars. I think I can spare a couple months to take care of this. So yeah, of course I would.
I'm sure I could do this, but that was pretty much all there is really to say about episode 5. It was the most important thing that happened in the episode was right at the end when you finally get that for sure 100% view of the helmet of Daredevil. That's a whole lot to talk about in and of itself. But the episode itself, again, not much. The one good thing I'll say about it is and we've been talking about how they have not focused enough on Jennifer Walters, and this entire show has been about She-Hulk, and that's the opposite of what made the 70s TV series of Hulk so great. Is that Bruce Banner, who's David Banner in the 70s show, I believe. Is that David Banner was the focus of the show. Hulk is something that happened in the third act, and the bad guys started acting up and somebody getting their heads busted. So while the show was the Incredible Hulk, it really was about David Banner and about his character. So, and I don't think they've done that with this show. They've tried to make it so much about She-Hulk and her being Hulk and the complications of being Hulk, but the most rich character is the Jennifer Walters character, and they've kind of run right past it.
the balance is so weird. It's so it's just like She-Hulk, 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 He-Hulk. All right, can we get more Jen? Jen. It's like,
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck? God, okay, all right. Like it caught me off guard, man. It's just weird. It's different, and so I said this before last time. It's like it's really hard to judge some of these, week to week if we're not seeing the bigger picture. But I mean, we're 3 episodes away, and I don't know. But
we still have no idea what direction this show's going.
Right, and that's kind of the frustration. Well, I think that episode 6 kind of gave a little bit more of the longer storytelling that I was looking for in this series.
Episode 6 did make some better strides, but not as many as I was hoping it would make, because we've got 3 episodes left of this thing.
Yeah, that's kind of what the first. Yeah,
and there's still a lot of ground to cover, and I mean a lot of ground to cover. That seems like a good enough place to go ahead and transition to episode 6. Episode 6 finds itself. Jen finds herself packing up in the beginning of the episode to go to a friend's wedding from high school. Now, this is where this episode focuses a lot on Jen, which I really, really liked, because again, she's a better character. So she goes there. She's struggling a little bit with, for one, it's just a friend that she had in high school that she barely has talked to since high school that wants her there for. I don't even really know why her friend wants her there, because her friend says no Hulk, but I'm just like, you invite her because you want to hobnob with you. Obviously, her friend's got some connections, because Titania happens to show up at this wedding because she's friends with her friend, the friend of a friend, whatever. That makes sense to me, but I don't care.
Yeah, that made sense. Well, that made sense to me of her, like, oh, she's at the wedding, I'm gonna like shoehorn my way in to get revenge. That made sense to me more than why the fuck Jen was there, to be honest with you, because I never got like a clear, like, even Jen's like, I go because I think she feels like obligated or guilty or one of the two, but it's never really like addressed that, like, it felt like she didn't even want Jen there half the time. It just that was the head scratching part to me. But regardless of that loophole, this felt like a Sex and the City episode, and I'm not saying that necessarily in a bad way. This was kind of more of again, it's the whole like She-Hulk, where's Jen? Jen. It's like, god damn, all right, let's simmer down a little bit, but okay, I'm for this. So I like this episode a huge step above the last one, because I felt like there was aspects that she was kind of exploring a little bit more. The Titania rivalry was kind of fleshed out a little bit more, which I thought was kind of there was aspects of that I thought that was kind of funny. But it's the whole like, oh, no, she can't be the She-Hulk, so she can't like show the one time she wants to be She-Hulk, she can't do it. The cash bar, like there's always these like inconveniences that just keep piling up and frustrating her, which I thought
she gets treated like a maid by her friend, which I find hilarious.
Yep.
He's like, are you busy right now? Can you iron these shirts? She's like, can you pick up these drinks? Everybody walked out because they said I was treating them
wrinkled
like
shit. They wrinkled them playing Nintendo, like
Mario Kart.
Yeah, so like that kind of stuff I thought was kind of like cute and comical. I didn't mind that stuff so much, but the B storyline also, I'm not gonna lie, the B story, I actually thought was pretty fucking funny. I'm not gonna lie, with the whole Mr. Immortal thing, I didn't mind that so much.
I thought that was really funny, and it's interesting. One of the things that's really cool about the fact that she's running the superhero law division for the law firm is that you're going to see a lot of characters like this. It's going to explore what it is to be super in this world now, to be powered.
Yep.
Some people are going to be good. Some people are going to be bad. But then it's like,
just going to be lame.
Some people they're not going to wield it. They're just going to wield it like they don't know what the hell they're doing, which is kind of what this guy did. He's immortal, apparently. He calls himself Mr. Immortal. Apparently, he can't die. So in order to get out of his many, many, many marriages, I counted 10 or 12 to various to various women and even one guy. That once he gets bored with these marriages, that he does something to initiate his own death, and he thinks that because he died, if the marriage is over, he can just walk away. But even though he dies, and like 5 seconds later, he gets up, he brushes it off. He's like, okay, I'm single again. Hey.
I thought that was
funny.
I love, like, there was a lie where it's like, wait, so you instead of having a talk with your wife, you just ran out into traffic. Yeah, I thought it was a little easier. You're afraid of confrontation. You just ran off and just go kill you. Why I die legally? Like I thought that shit was fucking hilarious personally, because it's just the whole legal matter. And I thought it was very funny.
I actually thought it also gave a good opportunity to showcase that other lawyer a little bit. I mean, because she's always just been that mean-spirited coworker off in the corner that throws Jen these shitty looks.
Right.
But you actually get to explore her character a little bit more in this episode too, which I thought was kind of fun.
Right. It flushes out some of the side characters a little bit more, which I appreciated. So I mean, like I said, it just I like that one more than some of the other like C stuff that was just kind of thrown in there on the side, like the whole what was it, the shape-shifting elf or whatever, or the light elf. I wasn't huge on that one, but this one with the Mr. Mortal, it felt like, you know, you had the benefit of developing the other attorneys and the other characters associated with Jen and the law firm more, juxtaposed with I thought pretty funny concept and clever, you know, thing with Mr. Immortal. I thought that was really funny. 20 seconds of uninterrupted apology. Just there's something funny about
eye contact, uninterrupted sincere eye contact.
Just little shit like that. I just thought was very, very entertaining. But the Jen stuff was also interesting. Because again, it's the opposite side of it, where like she's Jen majority of the episode versus being She-Hulk, and then, you know, Titania coming up and just punching her in the face and challenging her. You know, it was better. It was better. I appreciated it more, and I liked it better than some of the other stuff we've seen, at least from the last episode. So but the one thing I will say is, like I said, as far as like long-term storytelling for this, did you raise an eyebrow at Intelligentsia?
I did. I thought that was interesting. I haven't had a chance to look deeper into it to see what it exactly how deep it can get. I'm sure you probably already have some things. If you do, by all means, take the floor.
So, in the comics, Intelligentsia is a group that consists of the greatest criminal minds on Earth, and the members of that group in the comics are some B villains like Mad Thinker, Red Ghost, Wizard. However, some of the big members that are known for this one are Egghead, who we might see from the Ant-Man and the Wasp. We saw him in the Ant-Man and the Wasp, so there's a chance he might still pop up. However, the big three names that usually are associated with this group are MODOK, which jury's still out on that one. Doctor Doom, which I swear to God, if this is the way they're introducing Doctor Doom in the MCU, people are going to have a conniption fit. But of course, the big one, I think that I still think there's a chance we might see him. The leader. The leader is the big one who's usually associated with the Intelligentsia, Samuel Stearns, who, of course, we did know from D23 is confirmed to be the villain for Captain America New World Order. So I would not be surprised if the very final scene, or one of the final things here, we either hear the name or we get confirmation from the leader, since the Intelligentsia apparently has this like website where it's all anti-She-Hulk, and then of course we see some sort of like shadow organization trying to get a hold of a copy of Jen Walters's blood for reasons nefarious unknown. So I'm leaning heavy that it's the leader in behind all this.
I find it weird that they would introduce him here. It's like, because he's not a Thanos level baddie necessarily.
No,
but he's a significant one, and in the comics and potentially in the MCU. So I don't know why you would introduce him in a Disney Plus show.
I think it's reintroduce.
I'm not saying, reintroduce. But yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that they won't. It just, to me, it seems like he needs to be in the cinematic universe, not in the Disney Plus show. Now they're all combined; they're all the same. I understand that, but I feel like he's a little too big for that, because I feel like he's going to be in more than one movie. I feel like the leader's going to be in more than New World Order. I feel like he's going to be a guy that goes for a couple of movies.
I hope he is. I mean, you have to remember that, like, you know, he's a character that we have not seen. We have not seen this character since the 2008 Incredible Hulk film, and I think it's kind of the same situation of like when we saw Abomination and Shang-Chi. It's like, holy, we're bringing that back then, okay? So, but they did it like subtly, like, okay, here's a character to remember, and so I think what they'll do is that because it is kind of a weird pivot that, like, and don't get me wrong, I think the idea of bringing the character as a leader, especially for Captain America 4, which obviously I'm a big Cap fan, I'm looking forward to that regardless, and I think that's a great choice for a villain. I think it's a smart, like it's a great like transitional way to like reintroduce the leader into the MCU, remind you that who the character is, what his intentions are, and kind of like it's kind of like the end credit scene before you get, it's the setup for him before we get to Captain America, as little as it may be. Because it is weird that all of a sudden, like the leader just like, if you don't see the Disney Plus shows, it's kind of random that like, oh, the leader is the villain of a Captain America movie that we haven't seen. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's such a weird, like long gap to have a reference like that I think reintroducing him with She-Hulk and being like a reminder, like, here's a character and a thing that's going to be, and then we're going to reference this later on, which is the way the Disney Plus shows should be when it comes to the cinematic stuff, is like fluffing up and enhancing. That's what I think they're going to do, and that's what I hope they're going to do, as far as that goes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The way you explain it makes a lot of sense. Now I'm kind of down for it. I still think it's odd that they would bring him into a TV show to introduce him, but I mean, but again, look, it could be as something as simple as a post-credit scene of the very last episode.
That's what I mean. Well, I mean, Hulk, he's a Hulk. He was a Hulk villain. He was created through Hulk. So, I mean, what better conduit? You know what I mean?
And obviously, look, whoever is after Jen's blood isn't just after it because they're curious as to what makes her Hulk. It seems like they already know more than what we would know if we were just in that world. It's not like, I wonder if I get a drop of her blood injected into myself, would it make me a Hulk? It's like he's already got that working knowledge of the gamma radiation, all the work that he did on Edward Norton's version of Bruce Banner, everything in the Incredible Hulk. So he's already got that working knowledge of it. So maybe he wants it because he wants to make himself stronger. Maybe he wants it because he wants to make another thing. Red Hulk, potentially still happening, maybe in a different incarnation, because the character has passed away. But I mean, maybe. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense that it would be him. But again, it's just a lot of people question. I mean, because I've heard John Campea question on his show. It's like, do you really bring him in now? In a TV show, it feels weird, but the way you explain it actually makes perfect sense. Honestly, I don't care if he shows up in the post-credit scene of the last episode. I'm gonna be like, "Let's go, go."
I don't think you'll see him at the forefront of. I think it's gonna be one of those things where like they're like, and I'm spitballing here. I'm just speaking out like, I think it might be a thing where like you see a bunch of guys, or you see the Wrecking Crew come back, or you see him hire Titania, you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to see him until like or have him referenced until the very, very end. I think, I don't think it would be, I personally don't think it would be a smart idea to introduce him as like, oh, I'm going to get you, She-Hulk. I think it's going to be more like the, watching through the monitor, he shuts it off and it's like, mwahaha, well, next time, gadget, like that kind of, and then, you know what I mean? Like, cause to me, the Disney Plus shows should be ways to fluff up and enhance the bigger cinematic movies. And this would kind of be the way for him to be in, for Cap 4.
It did work very well that way between WandaVision and what we would eventually get in Multiverse of Madness.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense when you explain it like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm ready for it, whatever comes. But the other thing that happened in the 6th episode is that we finally see kind of a legitimate love interest for Jen in the show. The guy that she meets at the wedding.
Rooting for.
I'm rooting for that guy. He's a nice guy. He's not me, which is the only thing going against him right now, as far as I'm concerned. but it's like he rolls up there. He knows all about her. He obviously he's kind of in the same position as her. He's there at the wedding. He doesn't really have that kind of a connection to either the bride or the groom, but he got invited. So what the hell? You show up. And he ends up running into her, and there's some sparks that obviously fly that I hope will eventually continue on down the show. And however long we find Jennifer Walters in the MCU, maybe he'll be significant to her. But we finally got a chance to see that happen for Jen. And again, when you focus on the Jennifer character, is when the show is really at its best. And so that dialogue between those two, I was like, this is kind of what I want for her. This is the kind of growth I want for her character that gets me more involved and gets me more interested in what's going on with her. What do you think of that?
I'm right there with you. Part of me was like, oh, he's going to turn out to be like part of the Wrecking Crew or whatever to get her blood, which I really really hope it's not the case, because
Me
I would rather it be a situation where it's like, or rather it be developed into showcasing this is another part of the juggling being a superhero lawyer situation that she has to learn. It's another aspect of this superhero lifestyle that she has to adapt and learn to. How do you do this with loved ones and people you care about? I could very easily see the series like, nope, I never cared about you. It was after your blood the entire time. It's like, fuck, like, no, like, we've done this shit already. Like, I don't want to do this again. Like, I'd rather it be a genuine, great connection, have it build up. I hope it doesn't taper off. I hope it, like, it's almost like a Mary Jane situation with Spider-Man where it's like constant on again, off again, but we'll see. But I'd rather it be like her juggling this relationship with everything else she got going on. I would much rather that than just a stereotypical, like, you trusted me and you loved me, but it was really me all along. Let me twirl my mustache. Mwahaha. Like, no, I don't want that this time.
Yeah, but yeah. Oh, me neither. They've already done that though. They've already done the thing where she was kind of the booty call with the guy that she dated and had the one night with.
Right. Yeah.
So I think it would be kind of rehashing that kind of thing all over again. And I don't really want to do that. Now, granted, the guy that she had the one nighter with, he had no interest in her blood. He just wanted the one nighter. But I mean, I'm curious to see what his motives are. I want him to be a good guy. I want him to Cabbage Patch. Yeah, I want him to be one of the guys. It's like, oh yeah, I'm into this for you. I don't really care about the Hulk. If you're Hulk, whatever. Like, that's cool. But
this might be stupid for me. But like the moment when she's like fighting Titania and she like does the cute little wave to him, I'm like, give me more of that, damn it! Like, give me like it just like it's a stupid romantic thing of mine, but like it just from what we've seen so far, it's like fuck, like give me some of that more instead.
And the funny thing is that romances in superhero movies are usually kind of annoying, but because this show is what it is, it's a rom-com at its core. At least that's what it's supposed to be. So you kind of almost have to have that to kind of fulfill the show's full potential. So I'm kind of with it for this, but I mean, if she ends up getting her own movie or something like that, I'm like, I just kind of want that guy to be a side character who's just there. I don't really want him to be a part of defeating the bad guy, but yeah, I do want that to work out for her. But also, I mean, and again, you mentioned the scene earlier. The episode ends with the scene of somebody in a lab somewhere. They're closing these, steel attaché cases. We see actually them repairing the weird syringe that the guys tried to use to get her blood when she was jumped in the alley at the end of episode 2 or 3. So we see that they're putting a new needle on it. They're putting it in the case with a couple of other vials. They're closing it up. Whoever this was looking at the intelligence or website or whatever, where there's stuff on there about her. I didn't get that close of a look at the website the one time I got a chance to watch the thing. Was there anything else on that, like we saw in the first episode where they talk about the guy with the claws fighting at a bar and the weird robot sticking out of the ocean or something like that?
No, nothing this time around. It was all Jen Walters focused. Obviously there was like live camera feed of her eating the French fries with the guy. Mm-hmm. So there, but other than that, as far as like, hidden little, no, there wasn't anything that I saw from there. But the fact that like, you saw like, what was it? Hulk King was the screen name.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, fuck, if that's the fucking leader, I mean, fuck on. Like that's I think to me that's like such a giveaway, but the fact that like the show is is showcasing that there's a connection between Adela Tensia and whatever the shadow organization is that, or whoever is looking to get after the She-Hulk blood, because they're putting them next to each other. So it's kind of like they want you to associate the two of them being together. So, I mean, I think, like I said, writings on the wall that it's the leader in disguise, but no, there wasn't anything special as far as like anything like that. No.
Yeah, I'm interested to see where all this goes from here. I mean, again, there was a lot more substance to the last episode, to episode 6. Still not a lot that really pushes it though. We've got 3 episodes left, and again, a lot of ground to cover. We haven't gotten. I mean, really, the confrontations with Titania has just started. They obviously have their little throwdown at this wedding that ends up becoming. I mean, you thought that the bride was going to get mad about it, but she ended up being totally cool with She-Hulk being there, which is kind of a weird reversal of everything that she even said when she first shows up on screen. But whatever. I mean, I don't care. I think her friend is just shallow and wants the attention at her wedding.
I'm waiting for Frogman. Damn it, we still haven't seen Frogman's MCU debut. God damn it, we're still. but there is still a lot like that we haven't seen yet from like trailers and stuff. Obviously, we know we're gonna get more Charlie Cox and Matt Murdock and Daredevil. So there's gonna be at least an episode with him. So there's that. The Frogman thing, obviously, I'm joking about. I know that she's gonna go back to Blonsky. They're gonna do some sort of like round, like almost like a group therapy session.
That's another thing. If you think about what still has to be talked about over the course of these last 3 episodes, we're not done with Blonsky. Because remember, I was saying to you a couple weeks ago, like the ending title cards that are all done up like the courtroom sketches. You got the one of him driving away after being released in the bus, and he's not with his little harem of women, and they seem to be upset that he's leaving. So we got to deal with him. And I think there's already been a scene released, some video of her being at this retreat, his retreat.
Yeah, that's what I was.
So it's like we have to deal with Blonsky. Obviously, we have to finalize whatever the confrontation is with Titania. Obviously, we have to deal with Charlie Cox's appearance and whatever Daredevil is going to be in the series.
Mm-hmm.
Is there going to? It seems like you said that it's more and more likely that there's going to be some kind of an appearance, even if a very brief one, about the leader. So there's 4 big things and probably even a 5th one. I mean, because I don't know that she ends up working for the same law firm at the end of this thing. So there's personal stuff that has to be handled as well. Is her boyfriend guy that she met at this wedding, is he legit? So there's 5 things that need to be approached over the course of the next 3 episodes. And these episodes have not been an hour and 20 or hour and 40 minutes long. They've all been like 40 minutes long. I mean, I think the longest one's like 42. You don't have a lot of real estate left to build the stuff you got to build. So
it's funny. It's almost like the exact opposite thing that we talked about last time we did this, where it's like, oh man, this thing's dragging. It's like what's going on?
But that's what I'm saying. It's like you could have pieced these things together from early on in the series without having 3 episodes left, 5 storylines you have to tie up, and 1 character you still have to introduce in Charlie Cox. In Daredevil, you haven't even introduced him yet. You just really had your first full episode of Titania. So it's like you've still got a lot of ground to cover and not a whole lot of time to do it in. You've only got about an hour and a half-ish of screen time to do it in.
The pacing is very weird in this show. And again, not seeing the entire picture of it yet with the 3 episodes left, pacing is very weird in this one. I'm not saying I hate it. It's just it's definitely not my cup of tea this time around. But there's still things to play out. I mean, we were talking real quick. The only thing I'll mention too before we start to wrap this up is I think that with the 18 episode season 1 of Daredevil, bet money you're going to see She-Hulk show up in that thing. If for nothing else for filler. Oh yeah, if for nothing else for filler.
I think if not She-Hulk, then certainly Jen. I think Jen Walters is probably going to be somebody who. Like maybe assuming that it takes place in LA, maybe he'll reach out to her for counsel on something or get her advice, or maybe she'll pop up, all in green to help him, beat the villain of the episode or whatever. Obviously she's not going to be a center point of it all, but she'll probably definitely show up, especially if the show takes place in LA.
It's your Disney crossover event, like for every Saturday morning cartoon. You know what I mean? Like it's like, better. 6 was definitely better than 5, but you're right. It's now the opposite problem. It's like, what the fuck? We got 3 episodes left. What the hell are we going to do?
Yeah. But again, this show's keeping me just interested enough to where I want to keep watching it because I keep telling myself there's going to be payoff. There's going to be payoff. It's just like, I promise. It's like I keep slapping myself like one of these days it's going to stop hurting and it's going to feel good. And I'm a glutton for this punishment. But I'm hoping the payoff is going to be big. Look, in Feige, I trust. I've said it 100 times. I
think
because even the disappointing Disney Plus stuff has been good. It's like Falcon and Winter Soldier didn't do what I wanted it to do, but it was still quite watchable. Other things.
Better watch it about my favorite show. God damn it.
It was still good. Wasn't what I wanted it to be at all, but still a good show.
Right.
But it's like this show hasn't gotten there yet. Of all the Marvel Disney Plus stuff that they've released so far, I gotta say this is kind of this is at the end for me. It's kind of last. Now maybe once this entire series is released and I can go back and watch it from the first episode to the last, I'll see it a little bit differently, especially knowing what I know. Because right now I don't know what I don't know about the last 3 episodes.
Yeah.
So maybe if I go back to episode 1 after everything's come out, I'll be able to see things through different glasses. But
that's, not to shamelessly plug, but when we're doing the roundtable, when we started doing the shows, I'll tell you that like watching them all together, and then and even now, like we're doing Hawkeye next week, which I loved, and but doing like we've done obviously like Loki and Falcon and Wanda. I actually liked Wanda a huge step above when I watched it originally. It was some tough parts, but like watching it in one block, I appreciated it a
The first couple
lot more.
episodes were a slow burn. I'm not gonna lie, but that
Yeah.
show got real good real fast.
So like I think that's gonna be the same thing with this one, but we gotta see how it plays out. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm like, just I'm hanging on. There's just enough duct tape and nails to hold this boat together.
No doubt. Canadian base, we'll go to chat for a minute. Says a lot of the show seems to be based around her single life. Don't know if they would pull the plug on the relationship unless he's eventually going to betray. Well, I mean, that's kind of what the show is supposed to be at its core. It's supposed to be the Ally McBeal kind of rom-com, because she is basically playing Ally McBeal with superpowers.
Yeah,
she is that 30-something lawyer trying to deal with getting her career where she wants it to be and trying to find some time to have a personal life, and throw in there the fact that she somehow got these superpowers. So that's kind of what it is.
It makes a good point. I mean, he makes a good point. I wouldn't I also wouldn't mind if it's one of those things where like it's a relationship that carries through until the end of the season, and for whatever reason, like he leaves her. It's like, or you get like a Dear John letter or something like that at the end where it's like, I can't do this. Fine. I'm fine with that if it adds to her development and understanding of like, hey, this is the sacrifice it is with, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I can't be with you because I can't tell you because I'm Batman. Like that, like fine. I'm fine. I'm fine with that because it's a different aspect that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah. Canadian Basement and Cora both kind of asked the same question different ways. Would Disney scrap more seasons or give She-Hulk a movie if the viewership is low? Well, here's the hard thing about the Disney Plus stuff is other than Loki, they have not committed to a second season of anything they've done. I think they're probably going to do a second season of Miss Marvel. That show was way too popular and way too good for them not to revisit it. But she's going to be in the Marvels first. So a lot of that's going to depend on what we see her character end up doing in the Marvels. Maybe she's just going to, maybe her character's going to outgrow the TV stuff and they're just going to use her exclusively theatrically. Who was who's playing the Hulk right now? Mark Ruffalo. Ruffalo has already been quoted as saying that there are plans for She-Hulk in the cinematic universe. So if she's going to be a part of the cinematic universe, maybe not necessarily somebody who's going to, I mean, she could theoretically help fight the next like big Thanos level villain, but it's like, but he's saying it. I think Kevin Feige's already said that they have bigger plans for her. Yeah. Maybe they weren't planning on doing a second season at all. Maybe they were just like, we're going to introduce you to her character here. She's going to be kind of what Hulk has been in the MCU since the Incredible Hulk. He's just going to show up in other people's stuff and then kind of show up in the Avengers movies to help wreck shop. So maybe she's going to end up kind of taking the same role. And then maybe 3 or 4 years down the line, after we've gotten into like maybe phase 6, maybe we'll get like a second season of She-Hulk where she has to deal with something specific for her situation. So, I mean, it's possible. It's hard for me to say they're scrapped anything if they don't even have plans on right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Again, it's the whole idea of like not knowing the bigger picture. That being said, I think you're right. Loki's the only one that we have concrete evidence that they're definitely doing a second season of. I don't count What If. But I think Miss Marvel rumors have been very strong that they're doing a second season, which I'm all for, but it's going to be obviously after the Marvels, like you just said. I think Moon Knight, I think the way they left Moon Knight is wide open for a second one, which for the love of God, please let it happen. But She-Hulk's not one that I think is pivotal to having a second season. I think She-Hulk could be a great way to backdoor some of the lesser known characters in Marvel. And like I said, if they're going to do what I'm proposing they do with the leader, or what I think they're going to do with the leader, again, a great little, like, piggybacking into for other, bigger bads to possibly come up. I don't think she'd have her own movie. I hate to say that, but I'm not. I'd rather being a supporting member or a supporting cast. But as far as her own movie, not the way they're presenting her, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't see her getting her own movie. I think this character is much more suited for the 9-episode thing, so you can tell a bit longer form. And again, not saying that she can't show up in a movie and do some stuff. I mean, if we, as long as we have Bruce Banner out there, we know that Jen Walters is also able to come in and do whatever, because they're almost kind of a team at this point. But I mean, there's no reason why she can't show up. And like you said, she's probably going to show up in Daredevil. I would imagine that she's going to have not a huge part, but I think she's going to pop into a couple episodes of that. How do we know she doesn't pop up in a second season of Miss Marvel somewhere down the line? How do we know she doesn't pop into, maybe she, I don't know, what kind of stuff is even based in LA anymore? I mean, not that it has to be in LA for her to pop in, but I mean, who's to say that she doesn't pop in like a Young Avengers? If they're going to do a West Coast Avengers, that's probably going to be a Disney Plus series. So she's obviously going to play a role in that, because they have done the Defenders. Granted, that was like Perlmutter's Netflix stuff when he was running before Kevin Feige took all of it over. But we do have some precedent for that with the Defenders. Maybe the West Coast Avengers becomes a Disney Plus thing. We'll have her. We'll have Daredevil. We'll have Hawkeye, I think, is the West Coast Avengers at one point. And then maybe one or two other people. And that's our West Coast Avengers, where they have to fight some bigger than normal but still street level kind of villain or organization. So
I mean, shit, she's Biffles with Wong now, so God knows that she can drop across the fucking coast like that, you know what I mean? So
and we've always got Madison. We never know if she's to show up in anything else.
Dude, the amount of fucking memes I've wanted to tag you in with the fucking Madison shit has been off the charts online. It has been absolutely fucking hilarious.
Dude, it's so funny to think about it. We'll probably wrap up on this. It's funny if you think about it. Some of these side characters that have kind of become their own thing. You have Lewis from Ant-Man. With the way he explains things. You have Madison. You have Wong has become, I mean, he was kind of that, but now he's become kind of even bigger than that.
Well, he's embraced it, man, and that's the best. That's the best thing. It's like when you have something.
And Marvel has embraced it too. I mean, they've kind of made him like that kind of Nick Fury connecting tissue. Not exactly the same character but he's been the guy that kind of bridges all this stuff for right now until we see Nick Fury pop out in Secret Invasion or whatever he's doing. So some of these side characters that are really kind of comic relief, they've kind of hit really, really well. As a matter of fact, the girl that played Madison, I forget her name, she's actually going around doing interviews and stuff right now, talking about like what her motivation for the character was and shit. And I'm like, you signed that deal because you wanted to be in a Marvel property and you're an actress who wants your big break. Let's not lie about what we're doing here, okay? but yeah, I mean, again, 5 and 6, 5 didn't really do much except for that little stinger at the end where you finally see Daredevil's helmet. 6, a little bit more. Again, they are finally concentrating a little bit more on Jennifer now, on the Jen Walters character, which is kind of important. She does get a bit of a love interest in this last episode. We finally get her seriously throwing hands with Titania instead of that one punch that gets thrown at the end of the first episode. So, and obviously there's some stuff going on. There's some stuff afoot in the background. We don't quite know what yet. We don't quite know who's responsible, but we're going to find out in the next 3 weeks. Yeah, we're going to find out in the next 3 weeks exactly what some of this stuff is. I got to be honest. Like, my gut tells me that the next episode is where the show really pops. I know I've been hearing this from the last couple episodes, but I'm not. But I've been hesitant because the show has been so slow. I'm like, I'll believe it when I see it. But I feel like now we're at this point where, from a storytelling perspective, they don't really have much of a choice but to let this thing blow up now.
If episode 7 doesn't give us, I think you're right. I think 7's going to give us something one way or the other. Otherwise, we're going to go from 20 to like 95 miles per hour in episode 8.
It's that worries me. Neck-breaking acceleration and story.
Oh my god, the cameos, the Easter egg, the development. Like I'll have like it's like over fucking stimulation. Like I don't know what to do with myself. But yeah, I agree with you. I think 7's going to be the one.
Hopefully, because I mean, like I said, there's 5 pretty significant plot points that you have to address. Especially if this season is going to be a one-off, because if they're just doing this one season and then she's going to have roles elsewhere in the MCU, you have to tie these things up. Now, I'm not saying that we don't get to that last episode at the very end. It says Jen Walters or She-Hulk will return in season 2. I'm not saying that's not going to happen. I actually kind of think it probably will, but I mean, they've got to tie up a lot of stuff. And look, if you're going to give me the leader because he's supposed to be in New World Order, it's probably going to come at some point before the show's over. And the relationship thing, I still don't know what the deal is with her at the law firm. I don't like the guy who runs that law firm. I think there's something about him. It's the fact that they're ignoring him that tells me that we should be looking his direction the last couple episodes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The fact that he's so kind of as a matter of factly and not really important, even when he's on screen, I'm kind of like, I feel like I should have one eye on that guy the whole time. But yeah, there's a lot that's going to happen over these next 3 episodes. And I don't know, have they released the runtime for these last 3 episodes? Do you know? Because
No,
generally speaking, they don't.
That.
Yeah, so I mean,
double check. I don't think so.
So maybe the last couple of episodes are like an hour and 15 minutes each. I mean, that could be a possibility. But if they're sticking to like the 35 to 45 minute area, you've got a whole lot of ground to cover in not a whole lot of time. So it's going to be interesting to see how they approach all this.
Yeah, it looks like I'm just looking real fast. No, I mean, it looks like episode 7 will be about the same, 26-ish minutes. The other 2,
just
no
26,
idea.
Really?
Yeah.
God, that's awful. That's awfully short.
It's making it worse.
Wow. Dude, this episode better run. This episode better hit the ground running and not stop until the credits.
Yeah. Well, we shall see.
Unless this whole episode is about her interacting with Daredevil. I mean, I don't know. 26 minutes is not a lot of time.
I don't give a shit. Give me my fucking Frogman, damn it.
I still want a good Howard the Duck MCU film. You don't have to make him one of the Avengers, but do that character justice for Christ's sake. Because as bad as that 80s movie was, it's so bad that it's good. But that movie is still kind of trash if I look at it objectively. I mean, I know my 12-year-old self still loves it, but it's like I still want a legit Howard the Duck effort from the MCU. Come on, we can do that, Kevin Feige. Spend $100 million, Disney. Go ahead and throw that movie out there. Let's have some fun with it.
I would pay to see a Disney, even like a 3-episode miniseries, partnering Howard the Duck with the Winter Soldier. I would fucking die laughing.
That would be fun.
That would be great to see that.
That would be kind of fun. But that seems like a pretty good place to start wrapping things up.
Yeah.
Don't forget to go check out Horny Goat. You go live all the time. The link to his
right after this.
Down below. Yeah, right after this. Where can the folks find you? What are you guys doing on your channel right now?
Kind of a hodgepodge of stuff. You know, obviously we do gaming nights. We've been playing around with some new types of games. Obviously we have the GM mode, where if you're wrestling fans, and who isn't, where each one of us takes a brand and kind of books it our own way. Consequences or stupid AI be damned, because it always throws up our fucking plans. We have No Bucks Given, which is our podcast we do every Saturday, which is kind of like, you know, almost like derailed in the sense of like random topics that we talk about, anything we want to talk about as far as like news, politics, or anything that's going on in the world. And of course, the Marvel Roundtable every Monday or so. We're doing Hawkeye this Monday. And if you like combination of Marvel and gaming, I just started playing the PS4 Spider-Man game over on the Horny Goat, which has been so far a lot of fun. But holy shit, there's a lot to do in that game. Good Lord. But so far so good. So check it out. Give the channel some love.
I've heard that game is very open world. I haven't played it. I haven't played
too open world, but
yeah, other than like a little bit of Call of Duty, some shooters, and a couple of oddball sports games, I haven't really been much of a gamer for a long time. But I've had some friends say that video game is actually pretty.
If you like the Batman Arkham games, that's kind of the same vibe. So it's
nice.
So far so good. Yeah.
All right. As for me, you can find me here every Thursday with my usual co-host going over all the stuff going on in the news of movies, television, and streaming. You can also find me on Sundays at 9 o'clock Eastern time over on the Derailed News and Podcast, going over all the stuff that's happening in current events, all the news stuff that's going on around the world. And you also find me and Connor here on late nights on Thursdays breaking down She-Hulk. There will probably be some more stuff coming up. I know I was talking to Jeremy and the guys earlier about maybe looking at Andor. I haven't had a chance to watch the first 3 episodes of Andor yet.
Same.
It's something that I think I might want to get into because I've heard some good things about the show so far. So I might have to squeeze that into the schedule at some point. Also, with the spooky season coming up and being so deeply entrenched with guys like Jeremy and Tex, there's going to be a couple of retro reviews of some horror movies coming up over the course of the next month. We were talking earlier on the stream about doing things like The Exorcist, maybe even what was the one we were talking about? Scanners. We've got the new Scanners TV show we talked about earlier. That's going to be if it actually comes to fruition, it's going to be over on HBO Max. So maybe we'll do Scanners at some point over the course of the next few weeks. And
right.
And we're trying to get Cora indoctrinated into the horror way of watching movies. So hopefully we'll get her to watch some of the really good scary shit, maybe get some of her thoughts on it. But thank you all very much for coming and checking us out. We'll be back here hopefully next week. I want to thank my good friend Connor for coming by again and having all this great conversation with us. You'll be seeing him on the channel more and more as we go forward too, and we will see you guys later on. Adios. Thanks for hanging out with us.